Welcome to the Bard of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, Brad the Bard, and this is a special Halloween episode, guys. Holy crap, what the hell? Jesus. Oh my God, giving me a fucking heart attack right out the gate. Oh my God.
We always got the ugly ones that pop up.
Yeah. So today, I'm here with the guys from Malevolent Designs and Insidious Mask Creations, and we're going to be... oh my God, this is horrifying. We're going to be going into some stuff. We're going to learn how what it takes to make some horror stuff for special effects and movies and haunting, crazy stuff like that. I know jiu-jitsu. And I think that's good enough to beat these scary guys. But all right, man, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. So you guys should actually know Matt from a previous episode or two. And Matt's one of my oldest and dearest friends. My man Matt is a very... very skilled artist in many ways. We were in a band together in the earlier high school days for years. And now he's into more creative physical and visual elements. And I just recently met his friend X. And go ahead and tell us about what you guys got going on, man.
I mean, we make all these faces for people to put on during Halloween. Everyday kind of things. If you're tired of your own face, get a new one. Why not? We've been doing this together. I taught Matt, started teaching him about a year ago, a couple months into a year. Mm-hmm. And he's been doing really well. He's been basically grasping everything fairly quick. And, you can definitely see in his sculpts how he's progressing and upgrading his skills, which is a great thing. Not many people can do it that quickly, but it's a good thing that Matt can adapt and start learning and paying attention to things and just keep upping his game when it comes to, creating.
Definitely.
And getting yelled at by you.
I have to say, like Matt was telling me in the beginning of like his leather making and things like that, his journey with that, I started to see he's like kind of adapting different tools of the trade and kind of making his own style with it, which is something awesome to see. Yeah. It's always great to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, utilizing tools that are out there. Also, we make our own tools sometimes. Sometimes the tools that you make are the tools that you use the most. So I know there's a tool that him and we got out of a pack, but we manipulated it to something that he loves to use, the little the circle eyelet that we...
Oh, yeah, they're flattened out.
Flattened out.
Grooves and everything else like that, cut marks and, so many different things.
Yeah.
But the best tool is the free one that everybody already has, and that's your hands.
Nice.
Utilize those, learn how to create your shapes and create your things that you're looking for in your art piece, and then just go with it. A lot of people, when they start making masks or they start doing things, is even just painting or anything in general, when they start creating art, they create something and they're like, oh, this looks like crap, I don't like it, everybody else isn't going to like it. But that really isn't the thing. It's one of those things where you may create something, you may hate it, someone else is going to see it and they're going to love it. So it's one of those things where if you're not happy with that piece of art, just put it out there anyway. It's art that you created. Art is one of those things where it doesn't have to be perfect because you're the creator, nobody else. Everybody can look at it and they want to judge it. Sure, why not? But at the end of the day, it's your creation. So just roll with it and go with it and see who likes it. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to want it.
Yeah. And something that I didn't know till I was talking with you guys about your most recent expo that you were selling these guys at Halloween. You're selling these masks because they take a lot of money worth of material, but also a ton of time. Mm-hmm. You're actually selling these for a good amount of money, like $100 or more a lot of the time.
Around that range.
Yeah. So that's pretty wild. I feel like people don't even understand that. And I want to get into that. But before I do that, you scared the piss out of me. So I peed myself. So now I have to go back and I want to just shout out my sponsors before we go into it. So first sponsor, I want to shout out Art of War Cage Fighting. If you guys are free in December, they have a very awesome fight coming up on December 15th or 9th. It is the 9th. Yeah, and then 15th is Ground Zero. Definitely come out and check that out. It's going to be awesome. Valley Forge Casino. Also, Saga Jiujitsu. If you guys want to train some jiu-jitsu in Hatfield area. Check them out. There's some of the best competitive jiu-jitsu in that area. Also Valley Jiu-Jitsu. If you're Kutztown, Reading area, Berks County, go check those guys out. You get a week for free if you mention the Bard, so make sure you do that. Also at darklegacy.net if you like horror, sci-fi, and creative writing that's not having to do with the masks. Go check them out. And finally, Rose Hunter Productions. If you need your event filmed, you know who to reach out to, baby. And I'm the one that runs that stuff side by side with Matt.
Yeah, we'd like to do a quick shout out for our next event. We're going to do Monster Mania Con at the Oaks Center. That is going to be next weekend.
Yep, the 10th,
Friday,
11th,
Saturday,
12th.
Sunday. Not only will you be able to see our masks, but you have the opportunity to sign up for paid photo shoots with the cast of Scream, the original cast of Scream, Art the Clown, and other big name Hollywood stars. So
yeah, that's
Also,
pretty sick.
The one thing we're gonna have there is we'll show a prototype real quick of our Necronomicons. I should have some of these available,
Necronomicon.
so if you want to drink with the dead, why not?
I will cheers to that.
What is it? Klepto Verata Nick drink. That's great. No, that's really cool. I think the Necronomicon has to be like top 3 coolest things here. Yeah, so it's like a beer koozie with the Necronomicon from Evil Dead, which is my personal favorite horror movie. And I kind of want to go back and ask you guys what inspired you. Like, how'd you get into like wanting to do horror stuff? That stuff's interesting, man. I want to know where it came from.
Because he started this longer than me.
Yeah, this started way back in, I think it was 2009. It was me and my older brother. We always did, horror makeup.
Can you bring the mic over? Bring it around so when you're facing us, it'll be there. Yeah. Thanks.
So what we did is we would do a lot of like foam latex prosthetics and stuff like that, face paints here and there. Then one day he found this company that was based out of California, and they were making silicone masks, so like full pull over. They moved with your face. Highly detailed and everything.
Does your stuff do that?
So we have some that have like mouth movement.
Yeah.
So because it's latex, our stuff's a little bit more rigid. So latex doesn't have the fluidness that silicone does when you go to move. But you can definitely get mouth movement out of latex masks if you know how to do it right. So anyway, so he got this mask and he showed it to me. I'm like, that's cool. And then he told me the price, and I'm like, you're kind of crazy, because those masks were like $700 to start.
Oh wow.
And then the next year, of course, I had to buy my own.
Yeah.
So after we had those, it was one of those things where he just came up one day and we were looking at him. He's like, we could probably make these ourselves. But back in this time, there was only 2 silicone mask companies in the U.S. So there wasn't really a lot of material out there on how to make this happen. Like, you couldn't just go to YouTube and be like, how to create a silicone mask.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't out there at the time. So what we ended up doing was we bought instructional videos that were made by Hollywood people, where it came to like silicone prosthetics, latex mask stuff. And then we just kind of started piecing together techniques from, everything that we started picking up. Of course, in the beginning, there was trial and error and, lost silicone.
In all things.
And then one of those things is silicone is not cheap.
Yeah.
It's one of the most expensive things out there when it comes to mask making. So like we lost maybe like 1 or 2 masks when we first started pouring them. But it's a great learning experience because, once we found out, all right, this is where we messed up. This is what we got to fix.
Can you give me an example? Like what were the errors that you ran into in the beginning?
So when you make a silicone mask, you need 3 pieces, your front half and your back half of your mold. And then on the inside, you have your core. And you need that core so it creates negative spacing in between the mold and the mask.
So these are the molds?
So those are molds for for our latex ones.
Okay.
So those you don't need a core for. Those you just you can when it comes to latex, you either dwell cast, slush cast. There's many different ways of doing that, which we'll show a little bit later on, like 1 or 2 of those methods. So the one of the errors is you got to make sure that when you have everything sealed, everything is literally sealed. Any little gap, you're going to lose your silicone. So it'll just ooze right out. So we had that happen, maybe once or twice. And then we've also had it like when there was one mask in particular where we were pouring the silicone. I don't know if it was too warm or we were trying a different silicone to test it out. and they have different cure times. So literally mid pour, the silicone just cures and is just hanging from the bucket. You can't pour it anymore. So we're like, all right.
So is it one of those things like epoxy where you mix it before?
Yeah, so you get part A and part B, and then you mix them together, and then that's when the curing process will start.
Yeah.
So you have a pot life, and then you have a full cure.
Yeah.
So you have a working time. Most of the silicones now, they'll give you a pretty decent working time. Yeah. It's just depending on which one you get, you always got to make sure what's your pot life, what's your cure time, everything else like that. So, we played around with that. And then I think probably a year after we just started piecing everything together and doing everything, we decided to do a trade show called it's basically Trans World Haunted Attractions Association, like a trade show that it goes on every year. Yeah. It's one of the biggest trade shows for the horror
thing.
Yep. Yeah. So we decided I think it was 2010. It was either 2010 or 2011 that we decided we're like, you know what? Let's just get a booth. Let's take our stuff and we'll see what the people like. So when I started doing stuff with him, I didn't do any of the sculpting stuff. Like that was all my brother. Like he was the one that knew how to do this. He had prior knowledge.
Yeah.
I just watched. My thing when it came to silicone masks is I took care of the seams. So like when you have your 2-part mold and you pull it apart, you have a seam line that goes around the whole mask. So I was supposed to cut everything off, make it seamless. I would fill in those gaps. I would do add-ons to the mask, boils, burn marks, like that. That was all my job. So I did all that. He did all the sculpting. And then after doing that for a good maybe 5 or 6 years, we decided not to do Transworld anymore, just because it's a lot of money to do that trade show. The booths are pretty pricey. You got to get a lot of preparation in between times like that, and having a steady job and trying to get free time to kind of do all that other stuff, it got difficult.
No doubt, yeah.
So,
very unique side hustle.
Correct. So in that interim, though, while we were doing the smaller shows, like we used to do Midwest Haunters Convention, that one used to be in Ohio before they changed it. Now it's a newer location, but I haven't been to the new one yet. When we used to do those small shows, that's when I started doing like latex stuff myself. Like I would take canvas and I would coat that in latex and I would put it over face forms that I would sculpt. So I would have like a canvas mask that had its own like shape. Each one was individual. And then after that, I'm like, all right, let's practice and play around with some sculpting. So I would take monster clay, which is the clay that we use the most.
Monster clay? Is
clay.
That the stuff right over there?
Yes.
The brown,
the cool thing with monster clay is it's like an oil-based clay, so it doesn't dry out. You can reuse it over and over and over again. So that way
you can make multiple different masks.
You sculpt your mask, mold it, pull that off, melt your clay down again, which is another cool thing is you can heat it up and it melts down. Yeah. So if you needed any liquid, properties of of the clay, you can melt it down, pour it into something. Now you have a copy of that pristine because now you're filling it up filling up your mold.
Yeah, like perfectly, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I started playing around with that, and then I started getting into like resin masks. So I started making a couple resin ones, and then taking them to the smaller shows with us, and they did great. Like people just loved the simplicity. My main thing when I started doing masks is I liked something simple. I wanted something that looked like some deranged person just sat at home, found something and slapped it together, and here's my new face.
Yeah.
So I started playing around with those.
So like
something kind of like this,
Yeah, like the one you just brought in.
Popped up in. Something very simplistic, nothing too involved with the details. There are some details in there, but you don't want to get too involved in the details. You just want a few main features that's what everyone's going to focus on, and that is it. That is what makes the mask creepy. It's usually a blank, emotionless face with something here or there.
My other thing with that, when it would be simple, is teeth. I focused on teeth, whether it was a whole mouthful of a bunch of different teeth, oversized teeth. It was all over the place, but it was always a mouth full of teeth. That was my main thing.
Like the one moments, that one that's over there now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, even like this guy here, Mr. Shivers here is a resculpt of one that I did back in 2015. and that one had like regular human teeth. This one I wanted to revamp that sculpt and give it, sharp teeth. Let's give it something different. Let's change it up a bit.
This guy right here.
So that's that one there. So kind of playing around, and even if you like the pig
so how do you come up with the names, Mr. Shivers? I want to know like what's the origins of the names?
It's one of those things where either someone, we show our masks to people and they're like, oh, this and the other, and we'll get like input from them.
Yeah.
Or we look at them and we're like, what does this
remind us of?
Correct. Like, what does this come through as, or what is it? What does it come like? What does it bring to mind when you look at it? It just goes by that.
Yep. That or like just like he said, the feeling that you get from the mask. Like the one that we did with my face. For me, it was very weird to see my own face and looking at my face. Looking at my face, I'm like, this is odd, and just staring back at it just gave me this weird feeling, and it's this constant feel of dread and things that just kept falling backward and backward. And I'm like, what is a word for that? And just using the dictionary and thesaurus on Google, and Chat GPT and AI, we came up with a rumination for this constant feel of dread and going backward. And it really captured what it looked like after we had the sculpt, because we molded my face with a silicone and created a mother mold with a harder gypsum bandages.
So tell me about that, because you're saying a lot of like technical terms there. So like you said, like gypsum mold and like mother mold or some such. So like you said you used silicone, but it turned out as a latex mask, right?
Yeah.
So you're using that as like the first layer to model it off?
Yeah. So
you can make multiple masks based on it, right?
So you use the silicone and you just pour it over your face and brush it in and let that cure. And then you take these bandages, gypsum bandages. It's a powder based stone that activates upon with water.
Yeah.
And they're like basically like your casts.
How long does it take to dry?
I think the whole process when it came to that was about 20 minutes,
20
30
minutes?
minutes maximum.
Yeah, the fast part was the silicone.
Quick.
I think we had 6 minutes. So we had a 6-minute pot life.
Yeah, the pot life on those is really quick.
Spray it on the face.
You mix
and
that
get it
in,
done.
and I was already sitting back, and by the time he was done mixing, it was already over my eyes. I'm like, oh, okay.
You got to work fast. If you don't work fast, like I said,
it doesn't
doing
get done.
this for years, I already like have a knack for all this stuff, and you're like, all right, got to work quick because this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
But you start with that silicone
Bite
mold.
the pillow.
Get the that mother mold. The mother mold is what holds that shape, the grand shape, your basic, your oval face, your round face, in place, so that when you do take everything off, your silicone doesn't flop over or anything. It just sits in the mother mold. Then we took our clay, melted it down, put that in there, let that cure a little bit, and then pushed that against a face,
an armature,
a form.
Armature.
And then from there, we started just taking tools and cutting my face up, just making it gruesome. And then from there,
This one's the one that's based on your face?
This one's based on my face, and the one next to the clown that has another latex mask on top of that connected with magnets, which is one of his masks, has my face under that as well. But so like if you want to look at that
definitely.
and then hold it up.
I have the benefit that you've kind of given me a little tour in here already, but I want to ask like some questions because I think it's really cool for the audience to know. How do you make the blood? Because it's like dried blood on the edge here, so it looks legit like you'd cut this off somebody's face.
Yeah.
Alternate reality, Matt. So how did you get the blood to dry in such a texture that looks so realistic?
Well, I cut my hand. No.
So we have a couple different bloods that we use.
Yeah.
This perma blood, which has been an industry standard for quite a couple years. It used to be one of my favorite bloods. I mean, it still is. Still one of my top ones.
Yeah.
There's a new one that came out by a company, Monster Makers. They make a blood as well, which is one of the ones I've been using, which they're really good. We also use like European body art blood. My thing with blood and how you were talking about like how we make it look like, put it on there and everything. I hate hard lines. I don't like if you take a brush, right, and you put blood on there and you literally just do this, you're going to have a hard line of red. It's going to look like you literally sat there and brushed it on. I want that organic look. I want that organic feel.
Yeah.
So with this, it comes down to a couple different techniques. You know, you can brush a little bit around the edges if you want to, which is normally what we would do. But then you take that brush and you stipple downwards. So when you stipple downwards, you're just getting some of those bristles stick out just a little bit more than others. Mm-hmm. So you want those to just lightly touch your mask, and you move your brush around so you're not getting that same pattern every single time.
Yeah.
So you'll have those little droplet effects, you know, that looks like if it was splattered on there.
Yeah.
Which another way that you can get that too is, you know, we'll cut down a brush, we'll dip it in the blood, and then you literally just, pull it back.
Yeah, I can see that's how you got some of this right here.
Yeah, so then you'll get those edges that don't look like a hard edge, that don't look like you sat there and you're like, all right, time to paint some blood, because nobody paints blood. Like, you don't paint with blood. You splatter it all over the place.
Yeah.
Unless you're some deranged person. I mean,
Jack the Ripper.
We're a bit deranged.
Yeah.
So a lot of I still like the splatter.
I'm kind of on this topic because now I'm curious. So you just went to Europe, to London recently.
Oh, yeah.
And you were telling me about Jack the Ripper. So tell me, like, did you go there because you're like, I need more inspiration?
No, I actually, my wife wanted to go. So it was just, I'll go. But my ADHD, you know, of course, now I'm diving down the rabbit hole of Jack the Ripper, your Jill the Rippers, you know, because there's conspiracy theorists that believe in Jack the Ripper was a woman. So, but I mean, definitely going to take inspiration from that. One of the first things that I had a hard time grasping, and him and his brother drilled this into me, was references. I was just, especially with this clown, that is purely off of what I can remember what the face looks like from my head. Not even looking in a mirror, just sculpting, like, okay, cheeks go here, eyes go here, noses go here. And what made that complex was there's two faces, so then I had to like stack them on top of each other. So like to go back to the topic of, you know, me going to London and Jack the Ripper as influence and whatnot, definitely going to be using that as some sort of influence for the next few masks that I sculpt.
Yeah, that's sick. So let me ask you guys, what are the horror movies that you really enjoyed, like growing up, that you feel like have like influenced your style the most?
I mean, for one, I mean, you can see it. Definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies. You know, the original.
You just got the Leatherface tattoo.
What's up? Yeah, just got my Leatherface tattooed on there. Jason. So the Friday the 13th movies. I remember being 4 years old and seeing, you know, I think it was part 2, because that's when he was there wearing the sack over his head and everything. Like, I clearly remember that, and the reason I remember that is that was the day that we moved from Puerto Rico over to the States.
Yeah.
So that night we were staying at somebody else's house and they had that playing, you know, and I remember that movie. And then of course, like growing up, my older brother was always into like horror and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's where I mainly got most of his stuff from, is that, like, him watching these horror movies, me wanting to watch them.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. So
for me, definitely, again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One that stands out is, you know, kind of where he got the inspiration for this one, is that 2003 remake with, was it Jessica Biel and I forget the male actor, but that one's like, vividly remember that growing up. We were probably like middle school at that time.
Yeah.
But before that, it would have to be like, obviously your Halloween, Friday the 13th, and like your Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are kind of hard because they don't have a lot of the gore that we're used to using in our influence. That's more of just like, yeah, it's on screen, but it's not like carving faces off and things like that. Freddy, I did use some inspiration from Freddy with his burns for my Mr. Whispers mask. Found a technique to create those burn kind of sculpting techniques. And definitely used that to my effect, to my advantage there. So
yeah, I feel like getting burn marks on like the latex has to be like a unique thing. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, how do you get burnt skin texture into a mask?
That's actually in the sculpting phase. So for what I did was I took some clay, made little worms, and I would make a U shape, blend them in a little bit, and then I just keep on stretching those U shapes out as a pinch, and then just keep going. So you make a U here, then you make a U this way, and then this way, and then you just keep building off of that, and then creating pockets. So it's not flat. Burns are not flat.
Yeah,
indeed. There's lots of layers. It's a very three-dimensional effect. So it's all done in the sculpting phase. You can do some of it on the like with like a torch, but you're not going to get the effect that you desire. It's going to get more bubbling. You can also
build it up after the fact. You just got to know your latex techniques, using latex cotton. You know, there's so many different things you can do.
Yeah.
But if you want something that's consistent, you want to do it in the sculpting phase, just because that'll go into your mold then, and you don't have to like keep building it up every single time.
Yeah.
Unlike silicone, with silicone, I used to do. Sometimes I would have people wanting masks that wanted a burn effect. Now, none of our masks had that burn effect already done. The nice thing with silicone is essentially the only thing that ever sticks to silicone is silicone itself. So I can mix up a batch, tint it, flesh tone, and then I would go in. Now, when it comes to silicone and me working with it, I never use tools. This was the only tool I ever used.
Yeah.
So anything I ever did, I would go in and, I'd shape it with my fingers. And then if I needed to give it like a quote-unquote skin texture so it wouldn't be super smooth, I would literally just tap it with my fingers to give it just a hair texture, that would come up on it so it wouldn't be super smooth or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was my hands and a popsicle stick. Like, those are the only things I ever used.
Yeah.
When it came to that. So, I mean, it was always fun getting to create something brand new, just on the spot right there. So
no doubt. Let me ask you, because I feel like you've probably been at a lot of these trade shows and things like that. What sets apart like a good creator from like someone who's not like using good techniques or materials and things like this?
Detail. Detail is the biggest key. And like I said earlier, let's take blood for example. There's, I've seen people create masks and their stuff, and they put blood on it, and you can literally see it's just swipe, swipe, swipe. Here, I'm done. Where we take that extra step to make it look like, it was splattered on there, or it was dripping, or, things like that. So detail's mainly key. You want to have good colors. You want to have good detail. But again, at the end of the day, it comes down to the person that wants to buy them. Some of these other people love those other ones, and I'm not saying those other ones are bad, because they're not. The creator of that one wanted it to look like
has
that,
a certain
that's
style,
exactly
right?
how they did it, which that's cool. That's what they want. Their clientele, their audience, their people that buy their stuff, that's what they want. And that's a great thing, because now there's something that's going to cater to everybody.
Yeah. And then a thing that you mentioned earlier was that the only thing that sticks to silicon is silicon, right? Well, I was talking to Matt, and I'm like, yo, why don't you put like some kind of fake teeth in here? Like all the teeth are the same material as the mask. And he was explaining to me that like it doesn't stick well. Can you tell me like what challenges you found like along your journey like that?
So when I first started, I had always like, hey, let's do some resin teeth and just pop these in. He's like, yeah, we can do that, but they're going to fall out eventually. It's, latex sticks to latex, silicone sticks to silicone.
With latex, you do have a little bit more leeway on other things that will stick to it, though.
What do you use to make it stick? Like you can't use like Gorilla Glue, right? You gotta like.
You can use something, so you can if it's flexible.
Okay.
As long as it bonds to rubber, then you're good.
Yeah.
So like, can we put resin teeth in these? Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. It can definitely be done. It just A, makes work a little bit longer. B, sometimes when I look at my masks or I look at my things, I don't think they need the resin teeth, and the reason being is, again, it comes down to that detail. So if you paint them in a way that they don't look like the same material as the mask. Now you have something that stands out.
Yeah.
It looks a little different. It looks like real teeth, things like that.
Yeah.
So do you need real teeth at the end of the day? No. Is it something doable that still looks good? Absolutely.
But it might affect the durability.
The durability.
Sometimes, yeah. So
long-term longevity of the mask for if you're a customer buying something and you want resin teeth, it is, I will say it's unrealistic to have the expectation that the teeth are going to stay in there forever.
Yeah.
Because as we discussed before, latex over time, just like anything on our planet, deteriorates. If you don't take care of that mask properly, if you leave that out in the sun and in the UV for extended periods of time, it'll eat away at it. It'll dry rot, and then those teeth will fall right out. So, but like if you're a customer and that's what you want and you know how to take care of it,
how long can one of these masks last?
It comes down to storage and what people do. I have so I still have one of my original Mr. Shivers, which at the time I called them the Babao, which is Boogeyman. I forget in what language, but it's their version of Boogeyman. I still have one sitting at home that I just keep, sitting up above a couch. And that's from 2015. That one's still fine. But I have another one that I have in my car that I don't really care about. I just threw in there. It was one that I wore for the haunted house. And that one, like if you go pick it up, it's really soft and flimsy because it's been sitting in my car for over a year now.
Yeah.
And it's right in my back window, so it gets the direct sunlight and everything else like that.
You kind of leave it there as an experiment?
Yeah. I mean, now technically, yeah. So I check it out once in a while. I want to see like what the latex feels like.
Yeah, like what winter does to it.
I want to see how long it takes before it literally starts to either deteriorate or it gets so like soft that it just like
crumbles.
Like it gets really gooey. So like before you can like squeeze it.
Yeah.
And
mush it together.
Yeah.
That's cool. So like latex doesn't last as long as silicone though.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So like what are some of the properties you'll get out of each material?
The main thing with silicone is, so aside from the life, is like we were talking earlier, the movement. Mm-hmm. Silicone, when you have a core that's smaller, because you got to stretch them to put them on. So imagine it like a glove. You put a glove on, you can move your hands around. The glove moves with your fingers. Same thing with a silicone mask. It's almost like a glove. You stretch, put it on. Now, any movement that you make underneath that.
So like Johnny Knoxville's like old man mask is silicone?
Yeah. So things like that.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy, man. That's crazy to think about that. Oh man, that's pretty wild. Well, X, you were telling me a story a minute ago about how you acquired some of these props, like this crazy sword behind me, and the axe behind you. And you were saying that you got you made some trade deals at the trade show. So like, tell me some stories from the trade show. Like, what are some interesting characters that walk up to you guys? Like, do you have any good stories of like you ever meet Rob Zombie or something?
I mean, I've met a lot of people. Like I've met Immortal Masks, so they're a company that makes silicone masks. Some really good ones out in the market. Like they're kind of one of the top, if not the top, honestly. But I've met the owner George and Andrew, great guys. Like I've known them for years because every time doing that the Transworld show, I would always meet them there. They would bring people at that trade show at the time when they were doing like the Face Off TV show. So like Matt Valentine used to be there. I forget, it was a handful of people. So got to meet all those. The one year they had Gunnar Hansen when he was still alive. They brought him in. He's the original Leatherface.
Oh, all right.
So he was there. I got to meet him. But yeah, when it comes to these trade shows, you network with everybody there. So you meet other vendors. You guys get to chatting. We basically would share tips and tricks and techniques and things like that.
Yeah, like they'll walk up to you and go like, "Oh, how'd you get the lips to do this?"
And my main thing when it comes to stuff like that, like knowledge, in my opinion, should be shared. There's some people that want to guard it for themselves. They're like, "Well, I don't want people to know my secrets," and but
open source.
In my opinion, knowledge should be shared, because just because I make something my way and I have a way of doing it doesn't mean that if I tell you how it's done, you're going to produce the same exact thing that I do. You're not. You're going to produce your version with my technique. So it's going to be different than what I have. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind helping people. I have people that I know through Facebook that I chat with regularly here and there, and I would give them pointers and tips. And, I've taught people how to make masks through Facebook just by giving them instruction. And, sometimes if I had a chance to shoot a video, I would shoot a video and send it to them. And so Matt's technically like my third person that I've taught how to make masks.
Oh, nice.
From start to finish. So
the other thing with that though is too, like, just because he shows you how he does it on his technique doesn't mean you can't adapt off of that, then share that technique and continue to build it and make a better. Obviously, like latex masks, I mean, this has been around for a very long time. There are many ways to do it. Like as he mentioned earlier, you have your slush casting, you have your dwell casting, you have your brush-ins, things like that. There's many different ways, and then you have him and I that we combine two of the techniques together to get the desired results that we want.
Yeah.
So again, it does need to be shared.
Yeah. Can you give me like an example, like something that like you came up with, or like you like in the moment, like maybe I'm sure like every time you approach a new mask, you maybe have to come up with like a new tool or technique, and you like maybe you call each other like, oh dude, you got to use like toothpicks for this thing.
I mean, we're always brainstorming.
Dog brush.
Dog brush.
Well, that was more my brother.
Okay. Well, I know with this mask, it was all by mistake too. I had done a mask with resin, and we were pulling it apart with resin, and it held its true form because it was a silicone mold. And then we're like, well, let's do a latex version of it, and we put that mold. We brushed that mold on, and we peeled it off. And it came out almost like this. And we're like, we're going to just use what's there. So this is literally a sculpt of a sculpt that we just continued to...
Yeah, like the sculpt kind of degraded and it like added to like a whole new element to it.
And then we just added stuff to it.
Yeah.
Really tore it up, stretched the nose out, really pulled the mouth out a bit. We added some of the burnt flesh over the eyes, added the upside down cross, and then of course, just
little things here and there.
Yeah.
To kind of elaborate on some of the things from earlier that Matt was talking about, like slush casting.
I hate touching these,
slush casting and dwelling and stuff for, most people that wouldn't know those terms. Dwelling is you take a mold, and if you can, you fill it up with latex. You fill it all the way up to the top. And then you literally just let it sit there with all the latex for whatever desired time you want, whether it's an hour,
so let's go into that. Like you fill the whole thing up all the way, or you like fill the edges and like kind of
for dwelling, you fill up the whole thing. Because what's going to happen is
pour that milk in.
Yep. What's going to happen is you let it sit there. The longer you let it sit, the stone is going to absorb the moisture out of that latex. And it's going to leave behind just the thick rubber by itself. So the longer you have it dwell, the thicker of a cast you're going to get. So if you let it sit there for like 2 hours, what you're going to do is you're going to come back in 2 hours, and you're just going to dump the entire latex back out of that mold. And then you're going to see that you're going to have a coating that's still on it, that's, however thickness. And then you just let that cure. There's your mask. The slush casting technique.
Oh, I see.
Slush casting is you're going to pour latex into there. You're going to rotate your mask until the latex coats, all the sides and stuff. Dump it out. Let it sit for a little bit. Pour some back in. Slush it around. Dump it out. And that's how you're building up your layers that way. That's kind of like the technique that Matt and I use a little bit. We do more slush than dwelling. Just
what are the advantages?
It depends on how you made your mold. So like most of my molds, I can't dwell cast because I form them in almost like a U shape, so I can't fill that up. Only when they're flat backed like this can you do the dwelling. So what we do is when we go to do our detail coat is we brush the first coat of latex into there. That way you make sure that you get into all your all your crevices, all your detailing, and everything else is in there. And then we let it cure for a little bit, and then we'll go back in, and then we'll pour the next coat in, and then we'll either slush it around, or again, we'll brush. So either brush or slush. It's kind of the same technique for us. And we'll do that anywhere from 3 to 4 times. So we'll do 3 to 4 layers. Yeah, okay. That way. And then what we'll do for what we call our final layer is something that I don't know if anybody else in the industry does it or not. It's something that I started doing just one day, on a whim, is I take Urafil, which is a thickener from Smooth On / Reynolds, which they're up in Macungie. And it's a fiber filler, essentially. And the reason that I do the fiber filler is because my main thing when it comes to latex masks, I hate flimsy latex masks.
Halloween.
I hate really thin latex. That's another thing that I'm not a fan of.
So, like Spirit, how many layers are they doing?
I have no idea. They're all
they're mass produced.
Yeah, they're mass produced, so it depends. But I want mine to be thicker. I want my masks that if I pull them off of a head form and I put it on a table, I want that form to still have its shape.
Yeah.
So what I do is I'll take that Urafil and I'll mix it. So I'll take like a full cup of latex and then mix Urafil into there until it's a thick latex. It
looks like a Frosty.
Yeah, it basically becomes brushable. So then what I'll do is I'll brush a thick layer of latex inside that entire mask, so I know that I'm going to have that thickness that I want for it. And then that's technically our final layer, and then we'll just let that cure overnight.
Yeah.
And the next day you come in, you just pop the whole thing out and
peel it out,
clean it up, and you're ready to go.
That's cool. So I think I asked you guys this before, but like, you ever get anyone like that wants like a custom order? Like, how do you make, like, how do you go from like a concept to actually making the mold?
So I've done a couple customs already. Some were things that already existed. Like I had a guy want the killer mask from the Until Dawn video game, which I made for him. And then I've had people that wanted just original designs. When it comes to something like that,
You get any weird requests, like fleshlights or anything like that?
Nothing like that. Could it be done? Absolutely. I've worked with so many materials, and be like, all right, this is what we're going to need. We're going to go this way, that way. But no, it comes down to communication is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So you got to talk to your client. You need them to send you as much information as possible, because I can't guess what he wants or what they want. They have to tell me. You have to, give me a broad idea, and then let's narrow it down. So once I get enough from them, sometimes I'll just do a quick sketch, and shoot them that design over. And then we'll go from there. Like I had a guy once hit me up. He's like, hey, do you think you could create a mask for me? He's like, I'm a mask maker and I sell masks. He's like, could you create a mask and, create the mold for me and everything? And I'm like, yeah, let me design something for you. I'll sell you the mold and you it's yours. You produce them, you sell them, you paint them, you do whatever you want. So I think I created 2 of them for him.
What does that cost?
So this was back a couple years ago, quite a couple years ago. So, I mean, at the time, I think I only charged him $500, which is extremely cheap.
Yeah.
For something like that.
Because the materials, like Matt was telling me, like it's crazy to not get things bulk. Like the cost even for like the blood that you were saying is like crazy. Like I see $25 on that little
for a
thing.
small bottle.
So those little tiny bottles that are sitting there, those are about $25 to $30 just for that one bottle. And we have paints over there where we bought,
a pack is over $100.
Correct.
And we have 1, 2, 3 packs that I can see that are over $100 plus our basic acrylics that we have. The bloods, other dyes, other alcohol inks. There's a lot of stuff that we utilize.
Like alcohol ink dries fast.
Yeah, it dries faster.
Different
in
properties.
my opinion, it sticks better too.
Yep.
But
To latex or both?
Yep.
My thing when it comes to these things, I'm always trying different things.
Yeah.
Like, even though you can be like, oh yeah, this works, I'm comfortable. I want to try something else. Like, okay, I know this works. What else can we find that's going to work? So I'm always buying different things. So like we have the acrylics, we have the bloodlines, the Createx bloodline paints, which are fantastic. I've been wanting to play around with acrylic inks. So I bought some acrylic inks. I haven't gotten to play with them yet, but that's the next step. I want to test out paints and different ways that they come out, just because I want to keep learning different things, techniques, and using different materials, because they're going to show themselves and they're going to be like, all right, this is going to be best for this application. This is going to be best for this one. Like, I want to keep honing those skills when it comes to things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're constantly talking of different, like, hey, what can we do to better this? Like, there are techniques that I struggle with, and it could be as simple as switching from an acrylic paint to a more viscous paint, like a bloodline, where I can do that technique, or vice versa, where something where I'm trying to get a really fine line, I need to have a thicker mixture, something that's already thinned out, like like the bloodlines. They're pretty thin. You do still have to thin them out, but you know, if I don't have the right mixture, I don't have the right air mix in there as well. It's just going to
air definitely plays a big thing into that too when you're using airbrush. It just splatters everywhere, and this fine little line that I'm trying to do for veins or whatever, just turn out like muddled mess.
Yeah,
it all comes down to control at the very end, honestly.
Yeah, it seems like the tooling is really important. Like I you guys can't see this, but like I'm looking at their wall and the table here, and like you have like these airbrushes that look like you're trying to like do Fast and Furious car designs and shit. Yeah, man, it's pretty wild how much goes into this stuff, man.
But to round it back to your question about custom orders, we're actually working with someone you and I both know from high school on a custom order for a screenplay, a short screenplay. Him and I are in the talking phases, trying to get everything that they're desired out of the mask, their ideas, so we can pen it down. We already have one design.
Sketch here and there, and submit that, and then see if like, all right,
what do
it's not the direction we're going, or that's the direction we want to go. You always got to start somewhere. So.
Yeah,
don't want to start sculpting right away, because then you're just wasting a lot of time that way.
You never want to sculpt right away. You always want to have a final yes before you start sculpting.
Yeah. So like, so you start with the brown,
the monster clay,
oil clay, right?
Which is available in different colors. You can get it in gray and green, apparently.
And green,
nice.
Their new green one is.
Yeah, is it like baby diarrhea green?
Yeah, it's like a diarrhea green. Yeah.
Nice. So then you take that, and then how do you create these like cement molds?
So that's your ultracal. So that's what the material that they're made out of. So after you take your sculpt, so you have your sculpt on an armature, you're going to start. You got to mix your ultracal and your water. Again, that's another thing where you have to know before you jump into it, like what to expect, what to do, and things like that. Your ratios are very important. The temperature of the water is very important.
And the
hot water makes that cure so quick. So by the time you're done mixing and you start, brushing it on your mold, it could already be, hard
it's already
in
thick.
the bucket. And you're
real thick.
Yeah.
So you got to play around with those, and you got to, the cool thing is nowadays, a lot of this stuff is more mainstream than it used to be. So you can jump onto YouTube if you really want to get into it, and you don't know anybody near you that knows how to do this stuff. Go onto YouTube and literally type in how to make latex masks, or how to do this. There's a group on there, Stilt Beast Studios, ran by Alan Hops. He has so many videos on there that will teach you from start to finish how to create your own creature if you wanted to. And he breaks it down and makes them super simple. Like you literally just sit there and watch that. By the end of it, start your sculpting, do this and the other. You already have all the steps and everything to look out for, and your methods and what to do. That once you follow that all, you're done. You have a creation. And then the cool thing is he has so many different variations. So like he'll have ones on like adding hair to your latex mask, and he has his own methods, and you can follow those methods. But there's so many other people that are on Facebook that have tutorials on how to do this stuff.
Do you have some stuff that you guys do that you haven't seen other people do? Any strategy? Any kind of techniques like you use, like anything weird?
Like I said, my main thing is that Eurofill.
Yeah.
The Eurofill, I would say also the only ones that I see that utilize Chicago screws are you, myself, and your brother. We're the only people that I know.
The Chicago screws, there's other people that do it.
And that's to attach the mask to the strap.
Yeah. Which, even with some of those, we're still kind of like learning how to do different things and make it last longer and stuff like that. Recently I found out like if you have a thinner cast latex mask using Chicago screws, make sure that on the inside what I'm starting to do now is put a fabric with latex.
Oh, nice.
Because what happens is if you don't, the latex is going to stretch little by little, and that Chicago screw is just going to pop right out regardless. But no, the Chicago screw thing was actually told to me a couple of years ago. I forget who came up and told me it, but it was at a trade show.
Okay.
And it was one of the other trade show guys, and he's like, what would make this a lot easier for you? Because I was doing the old, sometimes I would stitch my straps through the mask. I would latex them together, like pour latex onto it, let it cure, do another thing of latex. And sometimes I'd be finishing some of the straps at the shows. I still do that. It's like a tradition. But he came up to me. He's like, if you get Chicago screws, this will make it so much quicker for you. So I started looking into that. And when I was working with resins, that's what I was using was Chicago screws. When I swapped that over, because with those, what I would used to do with those is literally Dremel a slit into the mask so I can put the material through, and then I'd stitch it together. Yeah. So then once I was told about the Chicago screws, I started looking into those, and it made it so much easier. Yeah. But it's just one of those things, again, even if you're comfortable with something, always pay attention, take a look at what your customers are telling you, how it worked for them, what they experienced, if they had any issues. We take all that. If people come back and tell us, or if we notice and we see these things, we're like, all right, let's take the step to make sure that doesn't happen again. What can we do to fix that? And we go from there, just applying different things every single time, just to make sure that we have a product that A, looks great, and B, is going to last. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. So do you have any I kind of want to come back any weird things that you've seen at the trade shows? Like what are some interesting things? Like I've never been to one, so what's some interesting stuff that you'll see there?
The last show that the mermaid,
you see cool props and stuff too.
The Little Mermaid prop was really cool. Not the Little Mermaid prop. It was a mermaid skeleton corpsed.
If you guys want to see what that looks like, look up Dark Seed Creations.
Dark Sea Creation.
Yeah. He makes this mermaid prop. It's actually pretty cool. It's like a corpsed out, mummified mermaid.
That's
it was
pretty
big. It was big. But no, it depends on the trade show.
Yeah.
So the last one that we did was the World Oddities Expo. And just like the name says, it's a fantastic show. There's so many different things at this show. Compared to doing one of the haunted house shows. When you do those, it's nothing but haunt stuff. You have your masks, you have your costumes, you have your props. It's things that you're going to see at a haunted house that people are going to use at their shows, stuff like that, which is all fantastic stuff. But if you want to see the weird stuff, the unusual, or the cool stuff, you go to a World Oddities Expo.
Yeah.
Which if you guys never been to that show, look it up. They have posted their 2024 schedule. They will be in Philadelphia in April. I think April 28th. 27th or 8th? 7th. One of those two.
Are you guys going to be there?
So we want to, but we can't. The reason being is
we've committed.
Yeah, we're committed to another show already. It's a new show that's going to be brought over to our side. So it is the sister show to Midwest Haunters Convention. They actually have an East Coast Haunters Convention that they're starting next year. That'll be in the Oaks, Convention Center. That's going to be the same time that World Oddities is happening in Philly.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we can't be at the Philly show there. But we're definitely going to hit up the Baltimore show again, which is the one that we just got back from. Because, like I said, that show there is, if you want to see talent and, weird things, interesting things, it is a fantastic show to check. The people there, the atmosphere there is fantastic. It's definitely a fun show. And you'll find stuff that you're gonna be like, all right, I need to take this home. It's cool.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And then you guys actually not just create these, but you practically apply this skill at these haunts that you do. Matt, so tell me, how was it this Halloween, man? You guys spook some kids and stuff?
Oh yeah, we've gotten adults that have been waiting in line for, his brother actually came out to visit us at the haunt. That's how I got into this was X. He was like, "Hey, come on, help out at the haunt. We've worked with each other before."
Is this at Shocktoberfest or
no,
Penhurst?
We do a smaller haunt
at the Jim
in
Dietrich.
Muhlenberg.
Jim Dietrich.
The Haunted Hollow is what it's called.
So this was my third year there. But the first year, he had hooked me up with one of his original masks latex masks that he made, his Woodsman. And this was my character then.
What's this, the Woodsman?
Yep.
The Woodsman,
looks like some rated R Legend of Zelda shit right there, yeah.
But yeah, so I utilized that. And then last year, he gave me one of his resin masks because we did that haunt. And we had done another haunt in Muhlenberg, a different area of Muhlenberg. And it was a murder market.
Well, that was in Leesport.
Still Muhlenberg area. So we did that, and then that's kind of when I was like, you know what, I want to make my own mask. But yeah, this year was lots of fun.
What did you see that made you go, oh, I have to do this?
It was his mask that he'd given me. What do you call that one?
So that one was the one that I gave you. That's a custom one that I made for that other guy. So when I made his molds that I shipped to him, I kept a copy. Like I made a copy of the mask for myself to keep. I don't remember what we called that one.
Well, we ended up calling the character Cousin Humpy.
Yes, that was Cousin Humpy.
I was a big hunchback. Literally, I didn't speak, and I terrified groups because I was the last scare, and it was down a long, dark hall. It was just a bunch of pig pens on each side. And I would hide in a corner, pop out. They'd find a way to weasel their way around me. I'd let them get a couple steps, and I'd just dart at them. And the only sounds I made was...
Which is how he normally speaks sometimes. So.
But no, back to your question. You said, how did this year go? Him and I were of the most senior, with the exception of like 3 other actors that were there as long, if not longer than you. But, you know, we did have a lot of new people there, so... They staged him and I together in the same large room, probably about as large as this entire area here, maybe a little bit larger.
A little bit larger, I think.
And it was great because he was a doctor with a gas mask and an insect pump
that I filled with poison
in his water. So people were scared to go walk past him. Meanwhile, I'm already hiding right under their nose against these barrels, and he had a cue line that, you know, as soon as he said that cue line, I'd jump up right on top of those barrels, and, you know, me landing on the barrels alone, I no voice lines, no vocals whatsoever, and I just smash on top of that, and I'm already I'm now 10 feet tall, and they're screaming. I'd have had people falling over. He had people falling over, but we had full-grown adults not even make it past the first room.
Yeah? They just turned around and said nope right out of there?
This is the first year.
No, it happens every year.
No, I was going to say, this is the first year I think no one had vocally admitted to peeing themselves.
No, I think someone did.
Did they? Yeah. I must have been going to grab to fill up the water or something.
No, it's always a fun time. It's always a fun time.
Last year we had someone admit that they had a blowout. They had a brownout in their pants.
So what's his cue line? What's going on in here? And then you jump up and
his cue line was
I think it was bring me the rats.
Bring me the rats
because they were my rats. I had their rat poison, and you know we were gonna test some new poisons out on them.
Yeah. So
nice.
Bring me the rats, or bring me my rats, or something like that. And that's how, because it was hard for me to see. I could see underneath the table, but I needed to be positioned well enough to jump on the barrels, and these barrels weren't bolted to the ground.
Yeah.
So it started out with me jumping on the table, but then I was breaking the table because I'm full on jumping and hard landing. I tried to do soft landings and it just wasn't working. So I was like, you know, let me try jumping on the barrels. But yeah, actually, this was my character with a straight jacket and a pair of striped pirate pants, which everyone loved. They loved our characters. Again, I don't I mean, not to toot our own horns, but I'd say you and I usually have the scariest characters at the haunts.
We try to be the most interactive, at least.
Yeah.
At least between us two. Because again, it's not just scaring your audience; it's providing entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Is
I feel like the main thing, in my experience, I don't do this very much, but the times I have gone on haunted tours, I think the last one I did was Penhurst. And I just want to feel immersed.
Yeah.
You know, they let you tour the asylum, and there's no actors in there. It's just you getting to feel spooky, and it's look for ghosts and shit. As long as I feel immersed and you know, this is there's some realism here. I think that's what it's all about.
Well, to X's point of providing entertainment, just because you didn't scare them doesn't mean you give up. Make it a comedic character at that point.
We've joked with so many of our, of the people that came through,
things.
Just out of fun, and they all loved it. They, they would tell us, we're like, oh, you guys are fantastic. We love you guys, things like that. But it just comes down to having fun.
No doubt, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the fear is, people are scared of, oh, I can't touch this person. You don't have to touch people to scare them.
You don't.
The room doesn't need to be pitch black to scare a person. Like you said, just that environment, the proper lighting, the proper characters. Even if it's not scary, you can make it a comedic part of that to lead into the next thing. It drops their guard for that next room. They're like, oh, these guys are great, and then boom, they're scared by the next group. So again, it is a peeve of I think the first year I maybe once or twice I'd let my guard down and if I didn't scare him, I was like, oh, I messed up, and then after a while
you were just overthinking it. That's it.
And then after a while I got the groove of it and it was just like, just be me, you know me back. I even back then I was the social butterfly, so I apply that into scaring and making people laugh.
No
if
doubt.
I have to.
No, I think
even just saying weird things, it's just
like what?
What's wrong with you? The shower scene. So the first year I did it, there was going through. You had the stalls. So you had the room that we had all the way in the back.
Bathroom.
You had the bathroom stalls. Then there was
the showers.
Where you wash your hands that you go through and you bend around and then it said showers. And then you go down through the showers and then you can exit out after two tunnels in a room. And he was in the showers, and I was hiding in where, not the bathroom stalls, but just where you wash your hands. So I'd hide behind a cabinet, and then I'd slam and step, and there's just, actually, the pathway was smaller than this here. Like, it was cramped, so it was claustrophobic, and I wouldn't always get them. And the first 2 times I didn't get them, I was like, all right, well, I'm like, this is a lot of dead air. They're just, walking through. And then I saw that it said showers, and I was like, all right. Next person I don't scare, I'm going to utilize this. I said, hey, don't drop the soap. just weird.
Yeah.
Why would someone in the haunted house tell me not to drop the soap?
I don't know. I can't think of much scarier stuff than that.
Just, anything or if you're just listening to them as they're walking through, we don't utilize walkie-talkies in our haunted house. For
the haunt actors, no.
Yeah, so we just utilize our environment and just go based off of that. So sometimes you'll hear them talking to each other and saying each other's names, and then you'll just start whispering their names and things like that. And they're just like, how do you know my name? You may not have scared them or jump scared them, just something simple. What's up, Jessica? Just whoa, how do you know my name? Because they forgot that they're talking to each other too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's funny. So you're just picking up the cues. That's funny.
Or you listen to what they're saying throughout when they're coming through and mocking them and stuff like that.
That's fun.
Just, again, having fun with your audience.
Yeah.
Having fun with your character, too.
Yeah.
Really, really dive into your character, which for me this year was very easy. I was
How do you pick a character? How do you come up with the idea for a concept of your character? Do you need does the group kind of talk to each other hey we're doing some kind of chainsaw theme this year, you got to be some kind of farm person?
So we did that for the murder market. Yeah, it was more of
it was a family running a market.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, so kind of thinking deranged farmers, stuff like that.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of.
And then for the Haunted Hollow, it's been a prison for the longest time. They changed the layout here and there in some of the rooms, but it's still kind of the same thing. But we treat it as experimentations, So you have your prison, but now someone's doing experiments in the prison.
Yeah.
So when it comes to creating a character, for me it's just, what face do I like that I've made this year so far? Or all right, there's 3 days left. What can I make? I'm always changing things. For me, my characters are always technically spontaneous, and I change characters all the time just because it's I don't know if it's my ADHD or something. I can't just do one thing, keep it going the same thing over and over, which I know most people do to build their character, which is cool. But for me, I always want to evolve. I want to keep changing. Yeah. I want to be something different every single time.
Yeah.
Just so that people don't come in and be like, oh, I remember this one, or I know this. I don't want that. I want to give you something different every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to be on your toes. You have no choice because we were supposed to do the murder market again, but adding a like sideshow element to it. So it's this family that runs this murder market, but they're also hosting like a carnival sideshow in their backyard kind of thing through their pens and through their auction house. So that we were going to have characters in the auction room. One of our guys were going to do like a live auction of this freak as the people were walking through that would break out of the cage. That never happened. And I was supposed to be this clown that you see right here in the front. That was going to be my character. That fell through. So I couldn't do that in the jail. I was going to, and he was like, "You can't. That's it. It just doesn't.
You could,
but it doesn't make sense."
Not it would make sense. It's just it was for if you want something scary, like seeing something like that, trying to do what he wanted with like the straitjacket and everything.
Yeah.
I think that face that he had there definitely fit that way better than the two-faced clown. And at the end of the day, once he tested it out and tried it, it definitely got the reactions that I knew he was going to get with that thing there.
Oh yeah,
because it's simple and very disturbing because you're not expecting something like that.
I mean, just even on Halloween, we went to his brother's house to hand out candy, and a few of the trick-or-treaters and their parents were walking by, and they would see us interacting with the previous group, and then there would be some dead time, and I would just go over to the scene that his brother had, and I'd just stand there. And then there was two parents noticed that, like, oh, that guy's not real. But the one other parent that was with them had no idea, was just escorting the kids up to the bowl. And then as the kids passed, I got down and, like, curled. And they said that her face just lit up, like, what is going on? Because it was such a simple design. It looked like just something that is just like a mannequin, like something that just, it's a Halloween prop.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly saying this to him. Yeah, you were right. You were right.
I've just been doing this for long enough.
You've been doing this much longer than I have, and to that point, you're right.
Yeah, no, that's pretty crazy, man. This year or so, I'm moving in Philly now. I only had 2 kids come to my house for Halloween. Did any come here?
The first year we bought this house, we weren't sure, and then we weren't sure how the dogs would do and everything when we had Blue here. So we just, and at my house, we have the steps, a long landing, and then more steps up to the porch. So we're like, all right, we'll make this really simple. We'll just do this little table that we have here with a bowl, put it out there. The bowl was untouched the first year. So we hadn't done anything since then. We've had this house about 5 years. Go to his brother's place this year.
Where's that at? In Reading?
In Muhlenberg.
Muhlenberg.
And I'm out there, and my wife texts me. She goes, our bowl is 60% gone. So this year, the 1 year that I'm not here, we get trick-or-treaters. But it's fine. I'm hanging out with him and his family. And she's not really in, my wife. Scary things are not her thing. Mm-hmm. So, not many trick-or-treaters around here, except this year. I don't know. I wasn't here to really see. Apparently, either some teenager came by and dumped, 60% of the bowl into her bag, and then darted off.
I mean, at least it got taken, right?
Yeah, we spent the money. Well, I mean, she was banking on those Reese's Pieces with the puffs in them.
Those aren't bad.
Those are good. Those are good. I'm not supposed to eat peanut butter, but I'm a sucker for those.
Damn. No, that's funny, man. So, like, what have you guys been drawing inspiration from lately? Like, you watching any horror shows or anything like that? Like, the last thing I watched that I think was pretty cool was Castlevania. Kind of had me thinking, like, man, I gotta come up with some kind of it kind of gave me like ideas for the Ren Fair. I kind of want like a whip, like the Belmonts or something like that. Be some sort of demon slayer.
Not movies, video games for sure. There are some video games.
Oh, I know you're super into the Dead by Daylight.
Actually, we've both fallen off of Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah.
I haven't touched it in months.
I
have made a couple of those masks. So, like, I've done the Huntress mask, I've done the Legion mask, I've done the Blighted Legion mask. A couple of them. So.
But I mean, even you've brought up Ren Fair. We've been playing Lords of the Fallen, and we're both going to be doing headgear from that for our characters for at least one day of the fair, and then we're going to do some leather work. But video games are where I draw my inspiration. I'm hopefully maybe from the Callisto Protocol, because I got that for free off of PlayStation.
What is that? I don't even know. I'm not a Sony.
It's a horror game.
It's a
sci-fi horror game.
Which
it's
a
like
lot of
space.
People, yeah, a lot of people didn't like because it was from like some of the original people from Dead Space, the original Dead Space. So a lot of people were banking, oh, this is going to be like Dead Space, and the way that it was. Me personally, I liked the Callisto Protocol game. I liked how it played. I liked the creatures that I saw. The design work in them were fantastic. A lot of people hated the combat because in this one you had to you were kind of meleeing them, and then you had to dodge. You had to time your dodges and everything when they were to go to hit you so they wouldn't hit you. A lot of people really hated that aspect. I thought it was fun. It's a simple thing. It was something that not a lot of video games do. So I had a lot of fun with it. I played it all the way to the end. I beat it. I got to play the DLC that they released. I haven't checked that out yet, but I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, it's like a sci-fi game with mutated people.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. For me, when it comes to like my designs, I would say just certain movies, just watching them. And it's not the design that's in the movie per se, or like even when I'm like browsing Facebook, since I have so many artists like on through Facebook and everything, and they post their work and stuff. I'll see their work, but it's one of those things where, when you're like scrolling through real quick and you see something and your brain kind of sees it as something different for a split second. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, that's like nothing that I literally thought it was a second ago. So that's where I get my inspiration from. A lot of these things that I see, I'll see them slightly different for a split second. And then I look at the original thing that I'm looking at. I'm like, I liked that other thing that I kind of, that my brain kind of thought it was right away.
Yeah.
So like I'll look at like some of these designs that are out there and I'm like, I kind of like this, but if it was like this, or if it looked like this, or if this was changed here and, let's tweak this a little bit. Now you have something that's completely different. That's not that. That's where I get my inspiration from. Or when I'm just out and about driving and not really thinking about anything, something will just click and be like, all right, that's kind of cool design. We should try that.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. That or just like the overall concept. Like, one of my next ones, I do want to do like a hillbilly. I want that hillbilly-esque, like the Hills Have Eyes kind of thing. I don't want to take that exact design, but I want to utilize that concept and make it my own. Again, there's pieces of my work that I like he said, he does like the large teeth. I'm still so early in my career of doing this that I have to find something that I want to always incorporate in my as much as possible into my works. That working with these different concepts and learning these different things, animals, and he does several animals. I haven't done any.
The pig, right?
The pig. He has a rabbit. He has a
multiple
rat.
Rabbits. I have a rat that I haven't brought out yet, which it will be. I'm gonna attempt to make one and have it.
You're gonna make one.
Monster.
We're gonna make sure it gets done.
So I have plans for it. So with the release of Five Nights at Freddy's, it just came out. I kind of want to take some of my concepts like rat, which was my original idea before the movie ever came out, is to create these things and like kind of make them look like they were like discarded animatronic heads that someone just pick up and like put on, and things like that. So I have an idea for my rat, which I call Cheddar Charlie, to kind of
Chuck E. Cheese remix.
to kind of do things like that. I have a oversized rabbit head that I want to do something with as well. And those are essentially the start of my, what do I call them?
I forget. I don't remember.
Maniac mascots or something like that is a line that I want to do. So kind of like the guys that are back here, these 6 here are my Night Terrors line. Because they were all based off of different things like the Boogeyman, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman down here, then your Nightmare. This one.
Let me see the Sandman.
The Sandman's down here.
This guy.
Which I'll show you later.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
And then Peekaboo. So he's like eyeless, things like that. And then an original concept, which the name's not original because I found it, I saw it once. Someone referred to themselves as like a skin mother. And then I just stuck. I'm like, I need to create a creature or something that can use that name.
Yeah.
So that's where this one came from. That's the skin mother.
Yeah, and to continue on the discussion of like inspiration, I've done 2 versions of, ideas derived from The Last of Us. You know, I have like a clicker-esque mask, and then I have one that I call a spore. It's the spores mask, which is a cast of one of our friend's face that I just made a bunch of mushrooms growing out of her face. And then I also have a demon mask that I've made, and then we've been playing Baldur's Gate, and I was like, you know what, I want to try a purple paint, like a dulled purple paint, to do a drow paint job, and it came out pretty decent.
Yeah, it looked
I
good.
think that was the one that sold. That was the
it
one
the one?
that sold.
Nice.
At the show. I have a flesh tone, and then I have a reddish one, which would be a what would that be from? Carlock is a tiefling. So
Nice.
I got those. So we have like a humanoid demon, a tiefling, and then a drow that I had done.
Yeah.
So, you know, even just
gotta
fantasy
get
games.
some orcs out here, man.
An orc is definitely on the table. You know, that's been one. I've been wanting to do a like cycloptic orc, just because you know, I want to do something with a cyclops. You know, because all of my masks have two.
The Necronomicon is like deceptively heavy, and it's making me think my
Cyclops.
Yeah.
Cycloptic, hey, why not? My wife wouldn't be too happy about that. Yeah, so like even not just like, you know, you look at these masks and you're like, all right, what horror movie or what horror game or what, you know, Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even that. It's just playing Baldur's Gate 3. I'm like, all right, I want to try this.
Yeah.
I want to see what I can do with this.
You can basically get inspiration from any
From
little
any-
thing
Yeah.
that's out there, whether it's written text, pictures, something somebody already made. You know, it's just everything. That's how art is in general. You know.
Yeah. No, I 100%
It's all
feel that.
feeling.
Like I'm writing music now, like, and the inspirations that I'm getting is not what I'm outputting at all. It's just like, oh, I really like this key or the way that this arpeggio works, and then like I'll completely change the genre and apply it in a way different way.
Yeah.
So I can definitely like resonate with that. But how do you guys keep from getting like nightmares? I feel like you're in a business that
we
like,
kind of do, but
Yeah,
use those
yeah.
for my benefit. You know, yes. I see something. You're like, all right, I saw this. Let's create something.
Yeah, so the mask second from the end over here is, you know, that was also an accident. It's my face, the rumination mask, with another one of his masks that we literally just we're like, all right, we're running out of space. Where can I put this to dry? And we put it on top of my face, and I was like, that looks great. But then I had a dream, which kind of brought about that story that I told you with what I want to do for a short film.
yeah,
Like a little YouTube
we
short
won't
type
even
deal.
won't even give any spoilers because I'm gonna help you make
So
that
that was a little nightmare that I had, but it wasn't with me as the main character. I was just watching the main character go through that with my mask on the characters. So, which is really cool.
Yeah.
To, you know, again, my own little nightmares from the nightmares that I'm creating, you know, now attacking me.
Yeah, that's pretty sick, man. Yeah, man, you guys definitely have like a lot of unique inspirations that I see. Like you have tons of different flavors of terror and horror like that you have here. So like I'm curious, like what kind of projects are you guys looking forward to doing like in the future? Like what's like a dream mask that you want to make, both of you?
So I want to do something kind of like more the oddities side, you know, a two-headed animal kind of thing.
He took it from me.
That's one of my main things.
Like a mask like that you could put on a person?
Yes.
Give me like describe it more. Like,
I
I want
wanted
to
to do
see
the
this,
two-headed
but I don't
goat.
understand.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
know how they have those animals that are born and they have the two faces like side by side. So
Kind of like
and then-
this.
Yeah, so this guy here has three faces. You have the little guy there, this one here, and then there's another one on this
Jabba the
side.
Hutt.
What's up?
Jabba the Hutt on that side.
But yeah, I want to do something animal wise where it's like, you know, you have your, you know, one growing here and the other one here, you know, maybe not fully formed. You know, you just got to make it unique and make it something different. So that's one of the things that I want to make. And as far as like other like quote unquote dream projects or what we want or what we're looking forward to is honestly, I want to create something for movies and short films. Like I want these killers to come to life and be in someone's story, be the main thing. And if it's not one of these, you tell me what you're looking for. Let's design it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. That would be sick.
And again, we're already on that first step too.
Yeah.
Like, just with a mutual friend of ours, you know, we're working with her, and we're hopefully going to get our foot in the door. And even at this next show, you know, we're putting our first foot forward to try to at least get our work out there. So even if it's nothing on this table, they reach out to us and say, you know what, we like what you have here. This is what we're looking for. But you know, he took both of the ones that I want. But again, I had already mentioned, you know, a cycloptic orc. Again, it's not necessarily horror, it's not oddities, it's more of that fantasy side of things. It can tie right into fair, because, you know, our fair season here is, the first couple days are pretty warm, but then it gets pretty cold and sometimes rainy. So, you know, that orc would be a really cool, you know, idea. Silicone probably a better medium to use for that, but I think latex would be just as.
Nah, you can do it out of latex.
Latex is just as fine. You know, just works just fine. So a cycloptic orc for.
If you think about it, a lot of the people that do the LARPs and they do orcs, that's all latex. It's not silicone.
Like foam latex application.
No, it's like latex masks. So what they'll do, one of the ways that they design them is you'll have your whole orc face. You know, you can be a full head if you want to, except for this portion. This portion's cut out. So you have latex except for this portion. So now you're using your own mouth to do everything that you wanted to.
Yeah,
That's
I don't want
cool.
that. I want those big tusks hanging
Yeah,
out,
dude.
big lips and everything. That's what I want. And then I want that cycloptic eye, just like a cyclops and an orc, just like that one scene, in Baldur's.
If you guys haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, go grab it. It is a fantastic game. So many fun moments in that.
Yeah, I wanna pick that one up. Yeah.
Maybe that's what we jump on.
Yeah,
later.
we gotta get back to that.
Oh, you haven't beaten it yet?
No. Oh my God, we're
Is it
still
long?
in Act 1.
Yeah, we're still in Act 1.
There's.
I want to
3 or
pick it
4
up.
acts.
It's been out for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been early access for a while. It just launched for all platforms.
Yeah, like
a couple months ago.
finalized.
Nice.
So yeah, like one of our friends had beaten it way before it even came out. He was like, "Yeah, I beat this game already. I can walk you guys through everything." We're like, "No. Let us explore. Let us make our mistakes." Which again, like those fantasy games, that's a lot of what, you know, with these horror masks and the haunted houses. It's making those mistakes that aren't mistakes.
It's part
you
of
know,
the journey.
Just like Bob Ross. There,
Yeah.
You know, happy accidents.
No doubt. Oh, we got a comment. What do we got?
Sweet.
Thanks for a compliment. We enjoy making these masks. They're a lot of fun.
These are only a few of what we have available. We mentioned earlier.
How many did we make in a year? Whatever's sitting over there, technically.
So 27 of them are sitting here. I think you have a few more at your house.
The molds.
Molds.
Yeah, those
Just-
were all done this year.
Just the last show. So the first show that I did was World Oddities Philly. I made 10 masks total.
Yeah, I think you had 10 by- at
casted
that time.
10 masks. I only had 10 physical masks there. I sold 7. He had a few. I think in total we sold somewhere around the lines of like 15 or 20 masks.
Yeah, some.
This show, we knew it was going to be bigger. It was only crammed into one day. There was there was a baseball playoffs and a Stevie Nicks concert, so we knew that everyone that was going to be from there for that had time to burn, so they're probably going to end up there. We took 60 masks down total. I had about 30. He had about 30.
I think altogether we sold like 12, but you know
12,
what?
yeah.
12 in
12
one day.
each?
No,
12 total. Yeah.
You know, and it's just one day, which isn't
Yeah.
bad at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
no doubt.
Most trade shows are 2 to 3
How much
days,
does it
so-
cost to get a table?
For that one, it wasn't too expensive. That one was, I think, $250.
Okay.
So
So you only needed to sell like 2 masks.
2 masks-ish.
2.5.
Yeah.
2.5, yeah.
Which isn't bad at all. Way cheaper than, like I said, when we used to do Transworld.
Transworld.
That one we used to pay, I think it started at like $1,200, maybe a little bit more just for one booth.
Yeah. What's it called? Transworld? Why do they call it that?
I forget the thing in general, but it's the Haunted House Association, or Haunted House Attraction Association or something like
Like
that.
Transylvania for
Maybe.
Dracula?
Who knows? They know.
But that was always a fun show. Like I said, that was your main networking show. The cool thing with that one is when we did that with our silicone masks, that's the one that, like I said, not just the U.S. but international buyers go there. So we've had like theme parks and stuff from what was it? I don't remember, but people from Puerto Rico would buy from us there for their haunted attractions down there. We've done a lot of international ones. We used to have Six Flags come up to us and ask us to create characters for them.
Oh,
for that
that's
year.
cool.
So we did that.
Dorney Park does that too. I think this year or last year, I just saw last year I was there in October and they were doing that. I think at Six Flags.
But yeah, so that show there is where you get all that. Like that's crazy. Everybody goes.
So that's pretty cool. So who from like Six Flags is going? Is it like the director of entertainment or something? Like,
I think so. When it came to that stuff, that was my brother handled all that portion. I was just there to chat with people. You know what I mean? Like when it came to like the big deals and stuff that he would have, because he was a sculptor. So like, you know, I would always let him handle that stuff. So I forget what it was, but yeah, it's usually the main people that are in charge of like the budgeting for, you know, the costumes and everything like that, and just trying to go out and find, you know, the talent. And that's where they would find them all, because that's where everybody would be. Like anybody who is part of the haunted house, you know, industry, that's where you are in that show.
Yeah, that's cool. Small world stuff. Definitely like not what you would expect to hear about the Six Flags one. That's pretty interesting. So have you ever seen like one of your masks end up like on a social media post and you're like, oh shit, like,
oh, yeah, plenty.
You know, like do you have any like good ones, like you saw like someone ended up with it that's like a well-known like actor or something like that?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Not that I'm aware of. It's mainly more of like, you know, haunts getting featured and stuff like that in advertisement, or them using my masks to advertise their haunt and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of cool. Like that's one of my favorite things, is seeing what character people are creating with my work. Like, what do they bring out of my work and what my work brings out of them.
That's cool.
Yeah, for me, just this last show, we had a family buy 2 masks from me and 2 masks from you.
No, I think it was 3 from you and 1 from me.
3? No, she didn't get. You're thinking of the Mr. Whispers. She didn't get the Whispers.
Okay.
The 2 girls got the 2 versions of porcelain. It was the Harlequin and then the clown version, and then the dad got the
my heretic,
and I forget what the mom got. The mom got something else. She got a Shivers. She got a Shivers, I believe.
No, I only had 2 Shivers and I still have this one. I don't remember what she bought.
She did. She got something from you.
Yeah.
But they were like, yeah, we want something for our Halloween parade. It was a competition. And, you know, with our masks, they got 3rd place, you know, out of hundreds of people. So like, to like see that, you know, and they had like, it wasn't necessarily
the quality of your work.
Their post. They had sent the pictures to us and they're like, hey, we got 3rd place. You know, we wanted to make sure you knew about this. You know, if you want to post this up, go ahead, do it. Dude.
Yeah.
That felt good, you know.
No doubt.
Even just my first show, you know, because I was very hesitant. Like the clown was the first thing I've ever done, and it was a very big task to take on because it's a full mask. A lot of people start with the half mask.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be crazy to even design that, because like it's 2 eyes, like 2 pairs of eyes and 2 noses. And I feel like looking at that fucks your face, like your perception of, like when I first saw it, I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at?
He had to drink heavily just to make that happen.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, it all started out with the little Tic Tacs, the little pills. And you were like, what are you doing? I'm like, this clay is hard. I said, this clay is hard. There is no melting it. Got to start with the small pieces and to make it malleable. But yeah, like even just going to the first show, like I wasn't expecting to sell anything. I was just like, this is my first show, and just people coming up and saying, this is great work. And then at the first show, we had a guy, I think he said he was from like Ohio or New York, and was like, right off the grip, just, can you guys do a commission piece for me? I want a giant clown head and stuff like that. Nothing ever came of it, which is fine.
I was going to say, is it that thing over there?
Generally, that's what happens, is you'll get a lot of people that are interested, but, you know, it's one of those things where you're just spitballing ideas anyway, you know. If you get something to come out of it, that's fantastic. If you don't, move on. It's something that's common.
It's just that genuine
just getting
interest.
Out there is the main,
that
the main
genuine
thing,
interest
honestly.
in your art, and the the compliments that come with it. Because like you mentioned earlier, we were telling you how long, the amount of time and the money we spend, and that's not even the point, the money or anything. It's just the time and the passion we drop into this. Him taking time out of his day to come over here and even teach me and just hang out and just sit here and all right, what can we do? It feels really freaking good when someone's like, that is amazing. And then even more so when they buy it and then use it and then they place third, and and it just keeps going and up and up and up. And now we have one of our friends asking us, hey, can you guys design a mask for a movie that, short film festival, short film that we're doing?
Yeah.
Feels really good. So
yeah. Do you think you could do non-horror kind of masks? I'm trying to even think of what's an application you need a mask for that's not a horror thing, and I'm drawing a blank on why you would even want to do that.
I mean, depends on what the mask is.
I'll give you an example. For dead mouse or something, you know what I mean? He has obviously that's a LED kind of thing, but have you ever thought about doing 3D printing some weird stuff together where you could make some crazy stuff? Because I know you were talking about that before. What are some not so conventional components of this art that people probably aren't aware of?
So this past summer, I had to replace the spigot from the front of the house because there was a crack in the top, and I was like, my father-in-law and I finally got it off after 2 hours because this thing was rusted on, and I brought it up to him. I'm like, dude, this would be cool to create not even a scary mask, or a scary mask where it's embedded in the forehead, funny. And we can feed a hose for blood to come out.
Yeah, that would be funny.
But even for just a normal mask where it's just it's out of the mouth.
The mouth,
where,
right?
It's faucet mouth or whatever. It's
faucet
something just stupid, silly. So yeah.
So let me ask you this: how would you meld the latex to the metal? After doing this for so long, what are some strategies you would do? Have you ever seen someone put a spike through a mask face or something?
It would be more along the lines of sculpting something like that and then hollowing it out as you.
You can use actual things in the masks. It's just depending on what they are, whether we want to go that route or not. With me, when I create things, sure, I can use real screws or spikes and stuff in them and stuff like that. But because of the type of haunting that we do when we work at a haunted house,
because you're actually practitioners, so
safety is paramount.
Yeah, you get to see how to make things more comfortable and more durable and stuff like that. How do you I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but you're wearing these things for a good amount of time when you're doing these haunts,
4, 5, 6 hours plus.
From 3 to 4.
How are there things in your mind when you're designing them to make them more comfortable?
Absolutely.
It's always because we try them on. We always try them on, and see how the eyes feel, how the space.
Do you sit there and watch TV with it on for an hour?
No, we should though.
Yeah,
that's definitely a thing where it's you get to feel the comfort, the longevity of it, you know, and see what it is.
If it's not comfortable for you, it's not comfortable for them.
But one of those things is when you first put it on though, and how it feels when you first have it on. That's gonna give you an example of what it's going to feel like, an hour later. So with some of these, to make them more comfortable, to make them more breathable, to make your eyesight better, stuff like that, we'll put foam padding, either across the forehead, right around the cheek areas. Because what that's going to do is it's going to push the mask just a little bit. Yep, it's going to push it a little bit from your face. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you more comfort. So now it's not up against your nose and everything else like that. You're going to have that spacing in there so air flows nicer. Your eyesight, you can definitely see things a lot better. You get more peripheral with it, stuff like that.
Another thing we like to do, most, if not all, well, not all of our masks, but most of our masks, we like to cut even if it's just cutting a slit and a very small sliver for the mouth, cutting out the nostrils, again, because latex, these aren't flimsy latex masks. They need to be breathable. Otherwise, you're just going to get your hot breath constantly smacking your face. So we also try to keep that in mind. I'm like, all right, if you're going to be wearing this for a long time, how can we do this to make it comfortable for you?
Yeah.
Now, there are some designs, though, that you have to sacrifice just a bit of comfort to get that look at the end of the day.
Give me an example. Like some of the harder masks. Like I know you have those harder masks.
The resin masks?
Those aren't too bad. It depends. So
depends on the design.
Most of let's go to my Tooth Fairy, for example, right? The Tooth Fairy one is not one that has nose holes. So you don't have, because there's no nose on there. So what I did was I actually opened up the middle of the mouth here. So you have a little bit of airflow. But now, you're sacrificing having those nose holes, which honestly you don't need. Yeah. It's some people can't put on a mask if they don't have nose holes because they think they're going to suffocate, stuff like that. But
so it's a preference thing.
Correct. It's going to come down to the person. But in order to get a certain look, you have, sometimes you just have to make that tiny, tiny bit of a sacrifice. Be like, well, and if you want to do it, you're going to make that sacrifice regardless. Like, there's a lot of people that sacrifice a couple of things just to make their costumes come to life. Like, block off one eye for the next 7 hours. Now you only have one eye to see out of like this big.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to the person at the end of the day. Which the cool thing with these masks are, do they have to be bought to be used? Absolutely not. You can have these as like wall pieces, decor, anything like that. Like, it'll be cool.
Like my first 2 pieces, they admitted that they were decor. The Grinch mask that I sold, the Grinch Santa Dr. Jekyll Mr. Hyde mask that I created, that was she was like, I just want this in my house for Halloween.
That would be Christmas. A sick short film like thing right there. Like
I forget how that came about. I know that it was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, something of that nature. No, it was Wednesday, the Addams Family show, and they were talking about the Hyde creature.
Dude, you watched that show?
I watched it.
That shit was super good.
That drew my interest of doing a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and then I believe something with like the Grinch came on, and I was like, whoa. Started searching, and I couldn't find even just drawings or paintings or anything where anyone done Santa and Grinch as Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And I was like, all right, it's time for me to do this. And that customer, she was like, I don't care. Like this, it's an expensive mask. But
a lot of time goes into that.
It was a super unique idea.
I even Googling and searching for hours because I was trying to find, that's what it finally clicked with the references. And then I was like, I don't know what to do here. And then, I was like, all right, I just have to, that one was one that I had to just go off of the whim. But yeah, she just wanted it for her house. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy. So and that's probably one that'll like stand the test of time. Like that mask, if it's in the house, just like posted up, is gonna last years probably. What's like the longest you've ever heard of like like let me hear like a silicone and then like a resin and a latex mask like lasting. Like what's the higher
resins
end?
themselves, resin won't break down. So resin you can have forever. Silicone, it's like estimated like a 20-year lifespan for silicone. It could be longer, it could be less. Again, it comes down to the conditions. Latex, honestly, I don't know. I've never sat there and like looked at it. I know it's way less than silicone. But again, it just comes down to how you take care of it. With me, it's one of those things. I create them, I use them. I'm on to the next one. Like for me, I don't plan on keeping my own design or my own mask for like ever. If I like it, cool. I'll have it up here for a certain amount of time. But I like to just keep creating and keep going with something different. So, but again, the main thing with latex is just how you take care of it. I've had people that still have my masks from, like I said, 2015, 2014, that were latex, and they're still around, still in good condition.
Yeah.
Especially like I said with the resins, nothing happens to them unless you drop them, or you hit them against something, or something crushes it. But other than that, again, I've had people that still have their resin masks that they picked up from around that time also, and they're like, oh yeah, we still use it today, and it's holding up great, and they love them. So
yeah, that's awesome.
And that's especially in the haunt industry, it's each mask has their advantages and disadvantages. I'll say last year that resin mask came in handy more times than I can count. The type of reactions we got out of with that character swung and hit me in the face, but their hands were the ones that got hurt because it was a hard resin
Oh, they were
mask.
trying to hit you?
Not on purpose. It was just a gut instinct of like, oh my God, like what is this?
I had a lady that I scared, and her initial reaction to getting scared, she punched me right in the face. But I had a resin mask on, and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and I'm just laughing my ass off because I'm like, I didn't feel a thing. Like,
That's funny. Because it's padded on the inside.
Yep. Yeah,
you insulate that with the foam.
padding.
That's cool.
Yeah. So each mask, aside of their longevity, they also have their own individual properties, like we talked about with the latex versus the silicone. Silicone, you're going to get, I'd say, you're going to get warmer faster because it's direct contact. It's hugging your face, your bone structure and everything because it's
it's
stretching.
malleable. Yeah.
Your latex can be lighter, sometimes can be heavier. For example, my Mr. Whispers, the Pig, the Leatherface, I think, is a little bit denser because they are larger. It is more material. They can be heavier, but more often than not, they are a lighter material because you're looking at half masks. And then the resins we talked about, can be a little bit heavier, but
resins are a lot lighter than you would think.
Do you have a resin one to show the audience so they get a concept?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have a silicone one as well?
No. I have not done silicone work since, I think the last time we did it was 2016.
Yeah, so everything that you guys are seeing is all latex.
All this year.
Yeah.
Latex from this year.
Yep. That's sick, man. Well, while Matt's digging that out, tell me the funniest story you have from a haunt.
I mean, it would have to be. For me, it was, well, there's so many different ones.
Yeah.
My favorite one was that lady punching me in the face and me laughing my ass off because it was just hilarious. That was the first time someone ever reacted and hit me that hard. And not, I didn't feel a single thing. And then there was, you get
what do you call this guy? The inhaler?
That's pucker. That's pucker. Because the lips are puckered up, But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, you can have fun with that mask, however you guys want. But no, my favorite thing is always when you get the people that are like extremely scared, and you feed off of that energy, so you just go at them a little harder, and they like fall over and they knock their whole group over onto the ground, and things like that. It's one of those things where you want to go so far, but you don't want to step over that line, so you push, and then you pull back.
Yeah. So, like, you ever get, like, a kid cry or something?
All the time.
Every time?
There's not a single day in the haunt that kids, teenagers, I believe we've even had adults crying.
It happens. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything.
Much.
Yeah.
I've scared
the suspense
people
is the scariest part.
Just by standing there and staring at them. And they were like,
across the street.
Yeah. And they just see us, and it's all in how you present yourself.
Yeah.
Like, if you get them to pick up on, the malice of your character.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah, my favorite last year as Cousin Humpy. Now, mind you, I'm this figure. I mean, I'll have to give you a picture so you can like add it into this later or something. It's a hunchback character. We used like pillow fluff to create the hump on the back, dragging a garden hoe up and down. And we're talking concrete floor. It's not like tile, it's a concrete floor. It's in a barn basically.
Yeah.
It was a college volleyball group. It was a group of 6, and then another group of 6. But the first group had gotten scared from you earlier,
probably
in the bedroom or the kitchen scene, and they all ended up together.
The dining room table.
The dining room, yeah. And then they ended up as a giant group of 12 coming around to my scene, which was the hallway. I came out, popped out. The one girl said she re-sprained her ankle. So
at the haunt?
At the haunt.
Oh, man.
I was the reason she re-sprained her ankle. I felt bad.
That's rough.
I let her and a friend get by, and I kept the other 2. And as they got out, then I kind of like backed out, and the remaining 10 who were able to walk through. I let them get by me just a little bit, and I These girls ran so fast.
You bring the mic.
They ran so fast they ran with a purpose.
Yeah.
They were moving with a purpose, and our poor door guy got knocked. They hit the door so hard, they knocked him over a table. He tumbled over a table. That was my favorite moment. That is tied with the guy last year that Brad kept telling me to come out and scare him. There was a guy that was terrified of my character because I had gone out to go to the bathroom and came back. But every time I go out, it's not like I'm going out.
Mm-hmm.
I go out in character, use the bathroom. After I get out of that bathroom, I'm back into character, getting back to my spot.
Are you in character as you're pooping too?
You could hear him from in the scenes. Like, where's Matt? Oh, but there he is.
And I've done last year, and even this year I've done it. So last year, scaring him, I came out multiple times, just peeking out the door. He would spot me and like, no.
I think that would be the scariest thing, though. Hear that in a porta potty, I'd be like, I'm not using the bathroom.
He was the next group to go in, and they're like, look, he's at the door. We need you to come out and scare him. So I burst through the door, did a Kong vault over the table in character, and chased this dude around the entire haunt. I did the same thing this year with with the younger kids. You know, they're like, "We're not scared of you. We're not scared of you." I was, doing I had my straight jacket on, looked like I was strapped in. They're like, "We're not scared of you. You can't do anything." I go, Kong vault over this. Everybody.
So wait, your straight jacket comes undone?
It's not strapped in. So my hands can actually come out of the jacket sleeves.
Yeah.
So, you'll see tomorrow when I go to your house. I have a leather belt. Like it was a cheap little straight jacket from Amazon that him and I like grunged up, sprayed it, took what did I use? A cheese grater. Cheese grater to like create some distressed marks, and we used some of our leather from the leather work to replace the straps. So I just tucked my arms into the leather belt there, like I'm tied in, but realistically I can just bring my hands out. So between those two events and then this year with scaring some of those kids, acting like I was strapped, and even I stayed strapped, ran with him like this for a while, and he was like trying to get away, and I'm like, you're slow, kid. Like, you're not scared of me, but you can't get away. So moments like that are fun. Our haunt isn't big enough for necessarily queue line actors because we don't really have that many.
No, our queue line actors are when we go out to the bathroom.
Yeah. Whenever we got to go to the bathroom,
mess with the line. Take pictures with people. Yep. If we have time, real quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just 2 minutes to get out there, go do your thing, get back, and because again, the haunt itself, the house, the maze is the main attraction. People are paying for that. The barn.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So if people want to get in touch with you guys to get masks made or like interact with you guys, like how can they get a hold of you? Obviously, we got the Instagrams down there.
Yep. So if you hit us up through Instagram, we have our Facebook linked up in there as well. Either or, just send a message through there. We'll always see it when we, they'll come up and they'll pop up in our notifications. So if like there's a mask that you see that you like, if you do it through Facebook, especially for me, I don't do many orders. What I try to do is, because of like the limited time that I have to make things and stuff like that, is I'll produce masks, and then as soon as they're complete and ready to be sold, I'll just post them up. And then if you see it and you like it and it's available, shoot me a message and we go from there.
Nice.
Same for me, but also just give us a follow. Not to build our following, but
keep an eye on our stuff.
So keep an eye on what we have coming out. Sometimes like just this past haunt season, I've been doing this for a year and I made 15-ish, somewhere around there, 15 to 17 different masks within my first year. We like to post everything, but there are also different variants. I've sold one clown version of this completely bald. I have another one behind the camera with the Queen of Hearts wig from Alice in Wonderland. So there are different variants that we may not even be able to post up because somebody asked for, commissioned us to sell that, and we may not have the opportunity to take a picture because we're trying to get it out on time. That and just you'll be able to see what events we're going to, whether it's World Oddities, Monster Mania Con, East Coast Harness Convention.
And the next one coming up at Oaks is what?
Is the Monster Mania Con 57?
57.
And what's the date?
November 10th.
November
10th,
10th,
11th, and 12th.
Oh, nice.
It's a 3-day event, so we will be there every single day. But again, get out at those events because then you'll be able to get your hands onto these masks as well.
Plus, you'll get to see the detail and everything up close.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, right now through camera, you're not going to see the minute detail in each of these masks.
I'm looking back through the monitor. They honestly look horrifying.
Yeah, they look really creepy on camera, but you see these in
which is what you want.
Yeah.
If you want them for film and stuff, they're gonna look fantastic.
Yeah. Yep. You see these in person, you're gonna be like, "That's disgusting," and that's our job. If we can hear you say that's creepy, that's disgusting, we know we did our job. But yeah, follow us. Message us. Reach out to us. Utilizing our Instagrams or Facebook for you.
I like the touch that X has on the pig ear too. You mentioned before, so you number each of the pigs.
So the ear tag itself. So that number there is the number of that mask that I've pulled out of the mold.
6.
Yep. So that one's number 6. Number 7, I think, is sitting at my house right now. Number 1's mine. Number 2, I made it for my brother, and then the other ones are out in the wild.
Nice. Wild boars. No, that's awesome, man. Well, all right. Make sure you guys give these guys a follow, and we're gonna put together a cool little video shortly, so that'll be out pretty soon, hopefully. Whenever I have time to edit that. And anything else you guys want to throw out there? You want to shout out your brothers because he, I guess, wasn't able to make it, but he has his own also separate.
If you look up Condemned Creatures on Facebook, that is his latex mask company. He has all sorts of different things. He has an orc, not a cyclops one like Matt wants, but is like a full head, like piggish orc. Like
he's got the tusks.
Things. Yeah. He has a couple, crazy
My favorite
little
is
things
his
out there.
Pope goat.
Yeah, we got our what was it called? I don't remember what the name of that mask is, but yeah, it's our goat style. His goat style mask, False Prophet. I think.
False Prophet. Yes, it's a False Prophet.
Definitely go check that one out. That one's a really awesome looking mask. That one takes a lot of time to create, but the end result is fantastic.
Yeah.
For that, the money is worth it.
Yep.
For sure.
No doubt. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for coming on the show,
and
we'll definitely be bringing you guys back for our next Halloween, and we'll see what we can do with that short film idea. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Peace.